presence here makes this time together so meaningful. And thank you for bringing your amazing and talented students, our reason for being. This year's theme, Creating and Crossing Borders of Every Sort, reminds us of the transformative power of education. As Holy Cross institutions, we have always embraced the call to cross boundaries, geographical, cultural, and intellectual, to serve our students and communities with compassion, with conviction, and courage. Today, as we come together to reaffirm our commitment to breaking barriers, forging connections, and shaping a future where education continues to be a force for justice, opportunity, and understanding. As CNERWAS, we take great pride in being a home where our students find purpose, belonging, and the confidence to explore the world. We are an institution that fosters faith and reason, reflection and action, leadership and service, all grounded in the Holy Cross tradition. To the high school leaders joining us today, know that CNERWAS is a wonderful home for your Holy Cross students, a place where they will thrive, they will be supported, and they will be elevated. Your students arrive here just ready to lead, and we see that from day one. They become mentors, innovators, and difference makers in our community, carrying forward the Holy Cross values that shape them in your own schools. So as you engage over the next few days in conversations, workshops, and reflection during Convocation, I encourage you to fully immerse yourself in this wonderful experience. Cross new borders, challenge ideas, build relationships, and celebrate the very unique community we share across Holy Cross institutions worldwide. I also want to take a very special moment to express my gratitude to our wonderful Rich Bouch, Executive Director of the Holy Cross Institute at CNERWAS, for his leadership in bringing us together. His dedication to strengthening our Holy Cross connections and advancing our shared mission makes gatherings like this possible. Thank you, Rich. We all appreciate your commitment and making sure that we remain a strong, united Holy Cross family. Most importantly, remember that this gathering is not just a conference, it is a family reunion. Our strength lies in our shared mission and in one another. The work you do every day, the insights you bring, and the passion you share shape not only your institutions, but the lives of countless students who will go on to lead with wisdom and with heart. Thank you for being here. Ave Cruz Spes Unica, Salve Cruz, Nuestra Única Esperanza. Welcome to CNERWAS, welcome to Convocation 2025, and welcome home. Bienvenidos.
Thank you, Dr. Fuentes, and thank you all. I'm honored and humbled, and truly, the credit has to go far and wide. It takes a village. In the case of Convocation, it takes a committee. We have an amazing Convocation Planning and Design Committee led by Dr. Lisa Kirkpatrick, who's the chair of our board at the Institute and also chairs this particular committee. And we have some amazing people on this particular committee who've met many times over the years so that these 3 days would not simply be possible, but would be as great as they are. One of our committee members, and you'll get to meet many of them over the course of the next 3 days, because they'll be serving as MCs for specific segments. One of our committee members I'm really pleased to invite forward now. Whitney Daly is the Chief Mission Officer at Gilmore Academy in Gates Mills, Ohio, an amazing Holy Cross educator in her own right, and she is going to introduce this morning's program. Whitney.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Rich. And what a gift and an honor to be here with you all, to be back in a place that does feel like home. So thank you to St. Edward's. Before our first talk this morning, I just want to invite you to think about your own Holy Cross journey for a minute. When was the first time that Holy Cross captured you? When was the first time that you really felt the spirit and the mission of Holy Cross? I hope everyone was able to think of something, and if not, I would invite you to continue to reflect upon this over the next few days as we journey together through Convocation. I was introduced to Holy Cross as an 18-year-old at the University of Notre Dame and have not left Holy Cross since then, so obviously something profound happened to me at that experience in that environment. The next question I have for you was, when was the most recent time that Holy Cross captured you? When most recently did you feel the hope, the hospitality, the inclusiveness, the zeal of Holy Cross? Before our morning prayer, I was going to say that it was just a couple days ago in interaction with students, but can we give our students from Moreau another round of applause? Talk about hope, talk about drawing us in. What a gift, what an amazing job they did. And I think that this, hopefully, when you were reflecting upon when you most recently experienced Holy Cross, you thought about the people that you serve with and for, thought about the students, the people you minister to and with. Last week, we had a second-year Holy Cross conference for educators coming from St. Edward's, Hoban, and Gilmore in Northeast Ohio. And we had a panel of students who came and talked to us about their experience at a Holy Cross school. And the students, at Gilmore, we have students that start at 18 months and go until they're 18 years or 19 years old. But we had students on the panel ranging in age from 7th grade through 12th grade. And as you listen to those students, it was clear that Holy Cross has captured them. They are different because of you all. They are different because of the way that they have been educated, the education of mind and heart. They talked about the importance of being able to think critically and to dialogue respectfully and to cross borders in a safe and meaningful way. They talked about being seen. They talked about having people know them. They talked about being family. That happens because of you all. So I want to start by just saying thank you. Thank you for all the things you do, the people you are, and the way that you model mission. Over the next few days, we are going to be hearing from a lot of different people, experiencing a lot of different things, and having an opportunity to collaborate in profound ways. And when you go back to wherever you're coming from, you will have the amazing opportunity and responsibility to continue to double down on what it means to be Holy Cross, to shape that culture, to inspire the community, to stand with the students and the colleagues and the people that you minister to and with. But you will only be able to do that to the best of your ability if you really take advantage of these next few days. How are you going to spend this time? I'm thrilled to introduce our first speakers of Convocation. Last year, Rich, I was on the planning committee, and he had a little mercy on me, and he let me be the last person to introduce so I could build up my confidence and get ready. And this year, when we were going through, I saw this talk, and I thought, I spoke up and I said, oh, that sounds really interesting. I think we should do that. And then they became first. And so Dr. Bouch said, oh, and good, Whitney, you get to be the first to introduce. But the fact that they're first is that they're first for a reason, because they're going to set the stage for what we do for the next few days. They're going to talk about the importance of intentionality, the importance of collaboration, the importance of being Holy Cross, as well as educating in Holy Cross. The two young people who are going to be speaking to us this morning, Deacon Ricky and Jesse Guerriero, are people who, from the moment they encountered it, Holy Cross caught them, and they have been models of mission ever since. Deacon Ricky started in campus ministry at Stonehill and then went to Notre Dame to be formed as a Holy Cross priest. His journey intersected with Jesse's as she started at Hoban High School in Ohio, came to St. Edward's University for her undergrad, and then ventured on to the Notre Dame MDiv program as well. For those of you who are not aware, it's very amazing and inspiring that the MDiv formation program for Holy Cross is a collaborative effort with laity and seminarians, and something that speaks to the importance of collaboration at Holy Cross. Jesse and Deacon Ricky have so much to offer us, and I would invite you to please give them your warmest welcome and be inspired by their words, their message, and also, just so you're aware, we will have a question and answer time. So if there's something that strikes you as they're speaking, jot it down, let us know, and we will make sure we capture it later. So without further ado, Jesse and Deacon Ricky, we're excited to hear from you.
Good morning. Here we are at the beginning of Convocation, and we have so much to talk about over the next few days about our work, our education, our administration, and our ministry.
But we are starting here. Fittingly, we feel, for Holy Cross, with relationship, with collaboration, with community, with love.
Basil Moreau had a vision for ministry, education in the faith.
But he knew that he could not do this alone. So he brought in folks to join him in this work. Folks of different backgrounds, different experiences, different vocations. And this community that Moreau started and that continues and that we see and experience in this room today is what we're going to talk a little bit about. The joys and challenges of such a community, of such a diverse community. So during our time today, Jesse, do you have the... Great. Not only will you get to experience the Jesse and Deacon Ricky show, but we're also going to do these things as well. We're going to do some introductions. Thank you for Whitney for offering some of those. We're going to add a little bit there. Talk about unity as a value that we all share and are called to embrace as Holy Cross educators. We'll articulate some action steps that we can take to do that, to embrace that unity, that collaboration. And then hopefully at the end of our time, we will tie it up in some magic trick bow that offers you something to take away from today. So that's me. Whitney covered a lot of this. That's me and my classmates. Some of us will be ordained priests soon. But graduated from Notre Dame undergrad, did the MDiv. God has rooted my vocation in a zeal for holistic formation in higher ed. I studied higher education for student development before I came to formation. Worked at 3 different Holy Cross institutions. One of the proudest days of my life was when I finally had an ID card from all 4 United States Providence Holy Cross institutions. Took that picture, sent it to all of my friends. They didn't understand. But now I currently serve not only as the assistant director of campus ministry at King's College, but also assistant director of a great program in the United States province for collaborators in higher education called the Monroe Mission Collaborative, which is a great program that I'm always glad to talk about.
And my name is C.S.C. Guerriero. As Whitney says, I am very educated in the Holy Cross tradition, starting at Archbishop Hoban High School, and then coming here to St. Ed's, and then on to Notre Dame, where Ricky and I first met in the MDiv. I have been so lucky to witness Holy Cross in so many different cultures and contexts. Been able to travel around the world and see the mission of Holy Cross in lots of different places. And I feel like I have truly flourished because of these experiences, right? The relationships that I've had and maintained with people who have educated me, many of whom are in this room, have led to how I have found my own calling as an educator and living out the mission of Holy Cross. I'll just be transparent right away and say I am not currently working at a Holy Cross school. But the mission of Holy Cross continues to inspire me each and every day in my own work as I'm teaching high school theology here in Austin.
And we can all pray that she returns to our ranks sometime soon.
Unity. That's what we're going to begin with today and really base our presentation around. Moreau first brought people together for his mission, our mission, from all walks of life. And he saw this as a really beautiful opportunity to be able to witness to something that is a core value of ours as Christians, and something that France desperately needed, right, in a time of division and destruction. And we can see very easily many obvious parallels to our world today, to our current situation politically and socially. As I said, unity is a principle that's at the core of our Christian faith. It is part of our identity. However, that doesn't mean that it's easy, not for the first Christians, not for the first Holy Cross educators, and not even for us today. And sometimes we think that unity is more difficult because we want to celebrate our diversity. We want to remember that we bring so many different perspectives to the table. But because we are diverse, that is what makes our unity more profound. That is what makes it more radical. And this morning, we would just like to recognize a little bit of the diversity in this room. So I'm going to invite you to stand if you're able, or raise your hand, please, if any of these apply to you. So if you've been educated at any point by Holy Cross, if you would stand if you're able, or raise your hand. Thank you. If you would stand or raise your hand if you have taught at a Holy Cross elementary or secondary school. If you would stand or raise your hand if you've worked in higher ed at a Holy Cross school. If you would stand or raise your hand if you are a vowed Holy Cross religious. Thank you. And finally, if you would stand if you've spent more than 5 years at any Holy Cross institution, stand or raise your hand. Yep, look around this room. And if you would stay standing or with your hand raised for 10 years, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Wow, 45? 50. Wow, thank you. It would be a massive mistake if I did not take this moment to say thank you to the many of you in this room that have contributed so deeply to my own formation and education, those of you who have formed me personally at such a deep level. It is because of you that I am here today to speak about this with humility and a little bit of intimidation, but because I have witnessed the way that you have collaborated and loved the people that you work with and the people that you serve.
I would like to thank those of you that took the opportunity to stand up and stretch your legs. Thank you for not falling asleep. Good pedagogy there. Get the blood moving. We have a long way to go. That smattering of kind of topics of diversity, of course, is just the top of the iceberg. There's so many aspects to the unique experiences and backgrounds and identities that the Holy Cross family shares. We really want to respect that and acknowledge that as a root of this topic of union. Because even for Basil Moreau, union never meant homogeneity or conformity, right? Moreau recognized that each individual person brought something unique to the community, but nevertheless said that union is a powerful lever with which we can move, direct, and sanctify the world. And that power actually comes from the fact that the union flows in light of that diversity, that it's possible that we can all come together and work for a common mission, even with and because of and in light of the unique experiences and backgrounds we all have. This unity continues to be essential and sit at the core of the priest and brothers of Holy Cross. As the constitutions of Holy Cross, our founding and guiding documents say, it is essential to our mission that we strive to abide so attentively together that people will observe, see how they love one another. We will then be a sign in an alienated world, men who have, for the love of their Lord, become closest neighbors, trustworthy friends, brothers. And Jesse and I are here today to argue that this principle remains true for all who participate in the mission of Holy Cross. We cannot live out this mission faithfully or effectively if we try to step over relationships and solely focus on results. When we think about what collaboration looks like in Holy Cross, we have described it as crossing the closest border. Before we can imagine crossing borders to serve communities in need, to make God known, loved, and served, each person, each minister, each educator must be willing to cross the border outside of their individual self, their personal vision, and aspiration. Because in Holy Cross, there can be no I educate. There must be only we educate. Because not until we educate from a place of unity, community, and love can we truly educate in the faith, a faith that is centered on unity and oneness with God and with each other. From Scripture, from the Gospel of John, we hear Jesus make this prayer, this call, this kind of weaving of faith and relationship. We hear Jesus pray, I pray not only for them, the ones that Jesus is sending on mission, the beginning of the church, but also for those who will believe in me, Jesus, through their word, so that they may all be one, as you, Father, are in me and I in you, that they may also be in us, that the world may believe that you sent me, and that I have given them the glory you gave me, so that they may be one as we are one, I in them and you in me, that they may be brought to perfection as one, that the world may know that you sent me and that you loved them even as you loved me. My friends, this interwoven nature of relationship and faith calls us, if we desire that the folks who sit in front of us in our schools are to know that they are loved deeply by God, that we have to start with our own relationships, our own call to love.
Ricky and I will be sharing lots of things from the Constitutions or Scripture, right? This theological side of our brains, but also many stories with you this morning. So we'll begin with one about some of the brothers that I got to know and witness their love for each other when I was a student at Hoban. I saw them work at Hoban, but more than that, I saw them be in relationship with other people, with other teachers at the school. And they weren't just our theology department. In fact, none of them taught me theology explicitly, but rather my psychology teachers, right? My chemistry teachers, our administrators at Archbishop Hoban. And that was a really privileged and unique experience that I had. But I saw that they worked side by side, right? In community and in relationship with our lay educators. They knew each other and loved each other. I saw that on a daily basis from the way that they greeted each other and interacted with each other. They helped out together on things like our Kairos retreats and school events. And at the time, I just didn't think this was that special or radical. I thought that was normal. But now, as an educator myself, I see that this unity that they showed and that they shared with us is really prophetic. It was really a message of unity and a message of hope. And that continues to stay with me now as an adult, as I think about the possibility and the hope that I have for unity, not only within Holy Cross, not only within our church, but throughout our world, because we so deeply need this hope.
So again, here we are at the beginning, asking ourselves, how can we collaborate well so that we can faithfully and effectively live out Moreau's educational vision, the mission of Holy Cross? How can we cross that closest border and thus fuel our mission? So we've experienced this. Jesse and I reflected on where we've seen this in our work, where we've been inspired by this. And we articulated kind of 3 action steps that we can take to step into this collaboration to cross that border. First, embracing shared values. Second, deepening relationships. And third, sharing life. So first, embracing shared values. For anyone who has taught or teaches theology or philosophy, maybe this resonates with you. I had the recent experience in my Christian ethics class of trying to convince my students that maybe we could actually agree on something. My students love this phrase, you do you. So anytime we talk about an experience in ethics trying to come to some sort of norm or some sort of overarching value, they're like, no, everybody has their own experience, their own kind of story, their own perspective, right? There's never a chance that we could get 2 people to agree. So I start in the extreme. My students wish I talked about murder and ethics far less than I actually have to. But we start there, right? Can we agree that like cold-blooded murder is bad? Yeah, we can agree that. Okay, so let's take it a step further. And what can we agree on positively? Well, in that room, right, as folks pursuing an education, we can agree that education matters. There's a reason that we should put ourselves in an educational setting so we can move forward, to grow, to learn, to become the people that God created us to be. And I communicate then to my students that something that they really need to know is that everyone who works at King's College shares the value of caring about them and their future and their education. And as diverse as we are as a faculty and staff, that we share that value. When Moreau started out in Holy Cross, he could expect a level of community and commonly held values among his religious. They were French. They were coming from Catholic families. Today, it's a little different.
As Holy Cross has continued to grow and our mission invites more and more lay collaboration and collaborators to this work, we truly have realized more reflection is required for this. And we realize we don't have to agree on every little thing, but we need to have some foundational principles that remind us we are part of the same mission. We are on the same page. As Whitney mentioned, Deacon Ricky and I first met in the MDiv program at Notre Dame, and it's probably not hard to imagine that if you put a bunch of young men in formation for religious life in close relationships and community with lay people from all walks of life, stages, states of life, vocations, things can get complicated. It can be difficult at times, right? We had some disagreements, some big ones. There was moments of hurt. There were moments of real pain as we struggled over some of these things in the classroom especially, right? Difficult things that we had to wrestle with. But as we reflected, and in the months since we've both graduated the program, we talked about why did we do that, and why did we stick out those conversations? And it's because we decided to stay in conversation and in relationship with each other because of our deep commitments. The commitment to serving the people of God, the commitment to the formation of the whole person, and a shared value of bringing healing to the world in a way that is particular to each of us. And we really realized throughout the course of the program and the months that have followed that sharing these values allow for our own rich diversity. The way that I am called as an educator is different than the way that Ricky is called as an educator. But when we celebrate our diversity, it makes our unity more profound and more powerful.
If you're not already aware of this, each of our institutions might use different language to talk about our Holy Cross mission. But just because we use different language that's often particular to the individual place that our apostolate is located, doesn't mean that we don't have shared values at the core. So the challenge today is, how can we actively and publicly commit and daily recommit to these shared values? To prioritizing holistic student formation, to a belief that there's a reason to hope, to having concern for the most vulnerable among us, and the goodness of believing in something. What's that next step for each of us as we strive to commit to embrace shared values? Second, we have the second action step is deepening relationships. So we're going to tell some stories about some of the relationships that we've enjoyed in Holy Cross.
And there are many. I would like to share a little bit about a very special person in Holy Cross that I met a number of years ago this very week when I was still a student here at St. Ed's. I was actually just 18 at the time, and I met Father Fred Jenga. Anyone know Father Fred? Yes. And Father Fred starts chatting with me one evening here after the convocation. And for those of you who don't know, Father Fred is from Uganda, and he starts telling me, and you should come and you should see this place and you should see Holy Cross here. And I'm like, yeah, sure. But then before I know it, all of a sudden, St. Edward's generously provided some funding for me, and I'm on a plane at 19 years old alone flying to Uganda. My parents were terrified. I was terrified. And I ended up spending about 5 weeks in East Africa that summer. And over the course of that time, Father Fred's WhatsApping, messaging me, and he's like, well, my brother's getting married on Saturday. Aren't you going to be there? What? My brother is getting married. Jesse, you have to come to the wedding. And it's like, who gets to go to a wedding in East Africa, a small village, for someone they've never met before? It was this incredible experience and a really treasured memory of mine. And that was just the beginning of my relationship with Father Fred. And we don't see each other all that often, but whenever we run into each other, which we did a little bit more when I was living in South Bend, it's like this feeling of seeing a family member, of seeing a friend, right? Our relationship has grown. And it's almost like a joke that we like to tell people, like, you'll never believe it, but she was at my brother's wedding, right? And people don't believe it. And it's kind of this extreme story, right? But that to me is so Holy Cross, this just open invitation, this welcoming into your life, right? Into a corner of your life that is so special.
I'd like to share a story about when I was an undergrad at the University of Notre Dame, and I was starting to discern the possibility of working in higher education in the future. And I came across the one and only Dr. Chris Haug, who's in this room, and we happened to have a conversation. I'm 22 years old, thinking about what my future might look like. Over the next decade, every time we were at a conference together or had a chance to email for some reason, we tried to keep that connection going. I don't think either of us would have recognized how important our collaboration would become. In my personal vocation, I mean, Chris has become one of the most important mentors in my life, but also for the work that we now get to do together, specifically in the Moreau Mission Collaborative, that program I was mentioning before. So it was the beginning of a relationship, one conversation, and committing to deepening that over years that I believe has led to really good fruit. This idea of relationships and how we deepen these relationships sits at the core of what Holy Cross does in formation for the men preparing to be priests and brothers. We actually have a practice. Some of you are going to think this is cruel that they make us do this. At moments I did as well, that are called peer evaluations. Has anyone heard stories of peer evaluations in religious life? We now call them fraternal feedback because the alliteration makes it sound more friendly. But the day before Thanksgiving, we, the men at Moreau Seminary in South Bend, Indiana, about 40 of us or so, go to our retreat center for a day, and you're assigned 5 people, and you're assigned a room, and you have 20 minutes where you sit across from each other and give feedback. You deepen that relationship by honestly sharing kind of how you see each other's lives, what's going well, what might need some attention or growth. We listen to each other. We have this experience of intimacy listening. We find opportunities to work side by side in the future. It's as awkward as you would imagine it would be, but it's also joyful as well, as we commit intentionally to deepening those relationships. Actually, our lay MDiv classmates do the same. They do it once. We do it every year. But the same opportunity of how do we think about the relationships? Because those relationships kind of exist naturally because we all find ourselves in the same place, right? We're working side by side. But we have to choose whether or not those relationships will deepen to the point where the collaboration among us rises to the level of being a true witness to love, especially in a world that is so torn by division, just like Moreau's own time.
And while we want you to deepen your relationships with each other, we're not saying you should all do peer evaluations.
But you should try it at least once. It's a great experience to have. As radical as it sounds, we are all called into a relationship of love with everyone, always. I just had a phone call or a Zoom meeting, a Zoom call, I don't know what they're called, I'm too old. Whitney called us young, which I appreciated, but I maybe not as young as, I was at the novitiate, no, that's a story for another day, when Zoom came out. But we had a Zoom meeting with my classmates who were ordained priests, and it was just, we're all over the country, we're all spread out this year. I'm in Pennsylvania, and my classmates in Massachusetts, some folks in Indiana. And at the end of the Zoom meeting, one of my classmates simply said, "I love you." And we kind of like 30-year-old men do. We're like, "Yeah, I love you too. Yeah, I love you too." But that was 6 years in the making of that love, right? That relationship getting to that place where we can say those words, the challenges, the joys, the obstacles. And so again, we're not telling you to go up to your colleagues and say, "I love you." But how can our life witness to that reality?
And so we want to invite you to consider how each of us can take a step towards deepening relationships with those we are naturally drawn to, hopefully some of the people that you traveled here with, but also with some of those people you might find particularly difficult. Maybe it's not the person you want to go have dinner with tonight. It's not your first choice. But what might happen if you take that risk, if you draw yourself closer to them, closer to that love? And this really leads to our last point this morning about sharing life together. As a teacher, I've realized that my students are really obsessed with knowing if there's drama or gossip amongst the teachers. And they love to be nosy about our lives. And just last week, one of them was like, but Miss G, do you hang out with the other teachers? And I was like, yeah, we hang out. And they're like, really? And I was like, of course we do. We're similar. We have the same interests and we're really passionate about education. And they were like, oh, well, we see that you guys have lunch together every day, right? We see that you walk in the hallways together and you laugh together and you seem like you like each other. And that has an impact on them, right? It impacts the way that they view us as their teachers and the way they view our school community. And this is something that I witnessed as a high school student as well, right? I saw my teachers, again, the way that they just greeted each other and interacted with each other. I saw that many of them knew each other's families. They knew what was going on in their lives. I saw that they had traditions together. They showed up to sporting events together or school fundraisers. They supported us, but they didn't do it alone. They did it with each other. I knew that they had some traditions like going out after parent-teacher conferences, right? They had these experiences that bonded them together. And that really had an impact on the way that I viewed my school community. It wasn't just about us, the students, but our faculty also had a community.
In the religious life, we live together, so we naturally share life. Jesse said the teachers eat lunch together. I eat 3 meals a day with some of my colleagues, my religious colleagues at King's College. Obviously, that level of sharing life is not expected among our lay collaborators. But if anyone truly desires to participate faithfully in the mission of Holy Cross, there has to be a willingness to share life in Holy Cross, so that we can teach again from that place of love. And this doesn't have to be a radical shift in your life. There are some simple things that we can do. Like Jesse said, attend events as your lifestyle allows you, when your lifestyle allows you. You don't have to be at everything, but what does it mean to go to a sporting event or this event or that event? Again, whatever makes sense for you. To be curious about others' lives. I love boundaries, big boundaries guy. Boundaries are a way that we love each other well. And we have to be willing to talk about at least some parts of our lives with each other so we know how we're showing up every day. At the beginning of the day, what does it mean to ask your colleague, how are you showing up? What's happening in your life right now? So I can care for you. I can support you. If they do share things, remember these things about their lives. Follow up, right? Remember when people's birthdays are. Celebrate birthdays together. Laugh together. When that one student does that kind of ridiculous thing they always do again, don't laugh at them, but laugh, right? Laugh with them. And then cry together, right? I think about my experiences when I worked at Stonehill as a lay collaborator, and we had a student death, the worst thing that could happen in an educator's life. And what did it mean for us as the staff members, right, to gather in the chapel, to be together, to have a moment, right, before the students came in so that we could grieve? Pray together. Pray together at school masses. Pray together before the day starts. Pray together at any opportunity you have, and pray for each other. Maybe in particular, pray for that person that you find to be extra difficult. And lastly, connect your life with the life of other Holy Cross schools. This is a great opportunity to meet people at other institutions. Share life with them as well.
In the treaty's Christian education, Moreau lists many things that educators must have to be effective in their work. And this list includes, but is not limited to, faithfulness, knowledge, zeal, and gentleness. However, he also emphasizes the need to have a calling to this work, a calling from God to this mission. But Ricky and I would add to this list that in order to be an effective Holy Cross educator and collaborator, you must have relationships with others in Holy Cross and not just with the students that you serve.
So the question we offer is, how might you be called to step closer to sharing life in Holy Cross? What's that one next step for you that you might take when you return to your institution to share life well and fuel your mission?
And this must happen in a variety of ways on the micro and the macro level, the particular and the universal. Ricky and I were talking about this and how it's important for it to happen at our particular schools, our particular institutions, but also that it must happen across the board between priests, brothers, sisters, and lay collaborators in Holy Cross. We want to take this moment to acknowledge that we know, especially for many of our high schoolers institutions here, that you do not currently have CSCs working there, and this adds a challenge. But building these collaborative relationships is part of and essential to crossing this closest border. Each of us brings something unique to this work, something different. And Ricky and I have been, and we invite you to thank God for that, for the rich tapestry of identities and experiences and cultures and gifts that we all bring to this Holy Cross family. And part of this diversity is recognizing how it is particular to each of us in our own vocations, and even celebrating in a particular way the way that our vowed religious live out this mission in a unique and intense way. As someone who spent 3 years around the seminary and around Notre Dame and lots of Holy Cross priests and brothers, let me tell you, it is intense and it is unique. And they hold this particular responsibility as religious for participating in the church's work of sanctification. And I consider myself lucky to have witnessed to that and to work alongside them. And their vowed life is meant to be, and for me personally has been, an invitation for us, for fellow Christians, to fulfill my own vocation so that I might live out my own vocation and you might as well. And then together we might work towards this development of a more just and humane society. And so we must actively dream about this and dream about ways that this can happen. And we really believe this is going to happen if we focus on embracing our shared values, on deepening relationship with each others, and in sharing our lives with priests, brothers, sisters, and lay collaborators. And part of this requires invitation on both sides and the courage to accept those invitations, so that we might learn how to understand each other, how to dialogue with each other, and so that our vocations might be lived out in complementary ways, so that we can witness to the whole body of Christ through our shared and independent missions.
Because only then, when we all, as one Holy Cross family, embrace shared values, deepen relationships, and share life, only then do we educate. Only then will our students be educated in the faith from a place of love. We, as one family, collaboratively educate all of the students that God entrusts to the care of Holy Cross schools. It's hard to enter into this shared work, and we know this ourselves, and we're not pretending like it's easy, because it requires us to let go of our own ego, to let go of who we imagine ourselves, our careers to become, to let go of what we imagine our vision for our school being. But as two new-ish educators, maybe slightly naive in our young age, are here to say, it's worth it. Because no one person can educate with the same power with which we educate together. We are teaching the whole person. No one math teacher or music teacher or principal or admissions counselor can do that work on their own. But together, Together, we can truly make God known, loved, and served for the salvation of souls. Together, we can truly prepare the world for better times than these through witnessing to the fact that love, unity, and hope are possible even in the midst of division. Together, we can bring hope to a divided world. Together, we can live out the mission of Holy Cross. So, let's start here. Together, by committing to crossing that closest border. Thank you.